This is me, is Queen Elsa, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. So, I was asked, was I aware that some signs find Aquarius to be sexually intimidating? Okay, I was asked this by a Sagittarius, and I talked with many Aquarius about this in the past and in the present because I heard this before, and I just had this conversation yesterday, so I wanted to bring it to your attention, Aquarius out there, that this is one of the things that's being said about us. And I did hear this years ago. I've heard this like for like 15 years now. And I really didn't pay it any attention because when I first heard it, I thought it was just Gerby Gerb. I was like, whatever, because to me, I just think that sounds ridiculous. But that's because I'm an Aquarius. So apparently, from what others are telling me, is that we don't realize that we can be sexually intimidating at times. Now, of course, signs who aren't sexually intimidated, such as Scorpio or Aries, a lot of them may not think this, but I've been told this from like a Capricorn, a Sag, people like that. I even had a Taurus say this to me once. Apparently, what they're saying is that number one, some of the times our drive is a little high, okay? And that can be true. That can be true. And for any of you who've ever had a relationship with someone and your sex drives did not match, that shit can be hell. Because one of you is a 15 and one of you is a 2. That is not good. And you try to meet somewhere at 7, it's not good. So, it's a very serious problem if you have a long-term relationship. So, I was told that's one of the things that can be intimidating is the frequency and how high our drive can be. Okay. And then I was told also that, we come out the gate with the freaky ideas. Okay. And to me, and the other Aquarius I talked to, it seems like sex is for that purpose. Sex is for the purpose of bringing it. You know what I mean? There's no point to come to the bedroom to play, but some other signs and some other groups thinks that we should ease people into some of our activities. So like on the first date, don't bring the handcuffs. They're saying we need to ease people into it. Be a little vanilla the first 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 encounters, and then start to try one thing at a time. And as an Aquarius, I'm telling you guys, this is a struggle for me to even say these things to you guys, because for me, I'm like, what are you talking about? But I guess if you're dating other signs and this is posing as a problem, then it has to be addressed. A lot of signs, from what I understand, don't even really talk about it or say it. Some of them do. Like I said, in my case, I have heard this before from from lovers, and some don't say anything. They just deal with the intimidation. So I want you guys to be aware of it. So if something pops off in your relationship and maybe the other person isn't telling you, that you're aware that sometimes we can be sexually intimidating, especially if it's a partner that you've identified has less of a drive than you or seems kind of weirded out when you come out the box with different ideas. Now, I'm not going to tell you to stop having these ideas or stop having your fun, but I'm just going to say consider easing them into these activities. Like on the first date, maybe don't bring the French maid outfit. Maybe save the flat-headed brush for the 10th encounter is what I'm saying. Allow them to ease into it just a bit. Also, I think another good thing for anybody is to talk. We need to do more talking about sex. We need to do more. And I'm not talking about what things they like to do, but talking like before you get involved with somebody sexually and saying, what do you like? This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Every time I've ever had a sexual conversation with somebody, especially in my 20s, everybody was always like, oh, I do everything. I'm a freak. That's the first thing people want to say to you, even if they don't and they're not, because they want to reel you in. And I became very, critical of that particular statement and started to ask questions like, what does that mean exactly? What do you mean you do everything? What do you mean you're a freak? What does that mean? We need to discuss these things because some of the time somebody says I'm a freak means I'm into having sex with midgets every Tuesday. You know what I mean? Or I'm a freak. I like group sex. I like threesomes. I like men and women. I like being tied up with extension cords. That could mean a lot of different things. So I think that people need to talk specifically. What are you into? What are you not into? What are your deal breakers? And don't just say, oh, I'm a freak. What does that mean? That doesn't mean anything to me. When somebody says that to me, I'm like, okay, so what does it mean? Because freak means different things to different people. So we need to have real adult, mature conversations about what does this mean. Okay, so what are you into? What do you not like? Like, for example, a lot of people tell me they don't like anal. Some people do, obviously, but a lot of people tell me that's their cutoff. They're like, I do everything, but I don't do that. So okay, that we need to know that before I come in here with a set of butt plugs and some anal beads. We need to discuss those types of things. And Aquarius, I know for a fact, because I do this myself, we do have the tendency to pop things on a person. I can't tell you how many times my lover has come to the bedroom and looked at me like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is going on here? So it happens a lot. So I think that if we have these kinds of conversations about what people are open to, and even if you've come up with it, let's say you've been dating somebody for 8 months, you guys have tried everything that you know to do, you've come up with something new tonight, instead of just springing it on them, how about having the conversation like, hey, I found this new sex toy and I was wondering what you think about X, and talk about it. Ask the questions before we just pop up with it. And I'm not saying you got to kill all your spontaneity. I'm not saying you're not going to surprise them sometimes, but what I'm getting from people is that we want to do things and they're just like, never even heard of it in some cases, and they're like, what the hell are you talking about? So just consider that, Aquarius. I'm not telling you to change, mother would never tell you to change, but I am telling you to consider your partner. Consider having the conversation. Consider easing them in. I remember the first time somebody told me to ease them in. They were like, don't come out the gate with it. They were like, just chill. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Like, what? Like, how is this even a problem? And she was like, do you realize you're always getting stalked? Do you realize that all your lovers, even the ones that go away, it's often difficult for you to get rid of them? And I'm like, yeah, some, most, almost all, okay. Okay. And she's like, because you done tapped their freak button, pushed them past their limitations, and then you're like, I don't want to see you no more. And it wouldn't happen like that. It wouldn't be purposeful, like, oh, I don't want to see you anymore. But it would be like, you done pushed them past their limitations. Now you see that y'all not compatible, and now they acting crazy and you wondering what's wrong with them. And I always did, and I always thought in my heart that I just picked somebody that was crazy. But what people are telling me is, no, you're pushing them past their limitations, you're pushing their freak button, and then the person start acting crazy because they are in some uncharted territory and they don't really know how to handle this. And maybe if you guys had the conversation, and maybe if you guys had the conversation before you sprung the midgets and the chandelier on them, then you guys would be okay at this point, and they wouldn't be calling you and won't stop calling and, driving you crazy and sending emails and crying at your doorstep. Maybe these things will not happen. Now, I always rejected that because I always thought it was BS, and I think that grown folks do what grown folks do, and you should be able to handle what you do. But I'm learning as time progresses that we do have a responsibility in that. So I'm just telling you guys because I was told about it, and I wanted to make sure that my other Aquarius out there knew the deal. Some people do find us to be sexually intimidating, especially those of us who have the higher drives. So I'm not telling you to change anything as previously stated. I'm just asking you to be aware. Okay? All right, Aquarius, I hope that helps you. And I hope it helps your lovers, especially the ones that are scared, okay? Especially them. All right, guys, it's time for me to get going. So, if you would like to leave me a love donation, please, I'll drop my PayPal and I'll be eternally grateful. If you would like to get a tarot or an oracle card reading, please email me. If you want me to answer a free general question, please email me. If you want to hit me up on Facebook or Instagram, I'll leave my information. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you know an Aquarius who has a tendency to intimidate their lovers or end up with stalkers, please send them this video and tell them I said they might want to consider this. See you later.